Hey friends, how's it going today? So a quick little gear video here where I want to answer a question that I get asked pretty often, right? Which is, hey, the smaller guitar, I use it in some of my videos. Do I like it? Do I recommend it? Is it good for traveling? Is it good for comfort level? What are the situations that you use it for when practicing or recording? So I'm going to answer all those questions, right? But let me start with a quick summary of things, which is I've had this for 2 years. I've had that Taylor right there for about 22 years. I use them both just about every day. I love this guitar, and I absolutely recommend checking one out and possibly getting one if you think you're in the right sort of fit for it. Now, I'll talk about some of those use cases I brought up, but in general, I thought this was going to be too small. I've never felt that way. This feels like a normal guitar to me. That now feels like my big guitar, which is pretty funny. So let's get into some of these situations though. And then a little bit later, I'll do some close-ups of both guitars, show you some of the measurements if you're kind of interested in that sort of thing. And I'll also play a few different styles of playing. I'll play the exact same thing on both guitars, same distance from the mic, same sort of volume level to give you that idea of how things sound. Okay, so let's look at some of these questions that came in. So something good for traveling. So David, I hope all is well. I was hoping you could give me help regarding travel guitar. I believe you sometimes use a Taylor travel guitar in your lessons. I'm currently looking for to purchase a travel guitar. I own a Taylor 214 CE, but I want something smaller for travel. I was wondering what model you're playing. Any thoughts on a travel guitar would be greatly appreciated. Mike. So Mike, thanks for the email. So yeah. Travel is actually why I got this. It was 2020, a few months into COVID. We were going to drive from Austin, Texas to San Diego to visit my in-laws. And I always bring my guitar when I travel because I like to have it with me. But my Taylor 310 right there, it has this big, bulky, hard case that just takes up so much room in the car. And we were kind of driving and space was a bit of a premium. So I think I had just had the itch to check these out. And ended up getting one at Straight Music here in Austin. This is a Koa finish, which was I think $100 or $200 more as an option. I also got the version with the pickup installed, right? This has a tuner built in as well. So I can plug in at the bottom right here, and I can use this to tune the guitar, which is pretty nice. And the travel aspect of it is great. It comes with a soft case. It's like a bag, and it just feels so much smaller and lighter. It's a big thumbs up for traveling. It fits in the trunk. I've flown with this thing many times. It fits in the overhead in the airplane really well. I've actually met one time I flew and another guy had a same exact guitar and we had our guitars in the same overhead bin. It was pretty funny. But yeah, for traveling, 100% recommend it. It's small, it's light, and I really like it in that regard, okay? So if you're interested in the traveling aspect, keep watching because I'm going to talk about some other use cases which will come up which might be applicable here. So Felipe, hope I got your pronunciation right, Felipe. Something more comfortable. Hey, David, I currently own a 114E, but I'm finding it just too big, and I'd like a more comfy guitar. In your videos, I see you're playing a GS Mini, and it looks good. What do you think of the GS Mini as a main and only guitar? Would you exchange a 114 for a Mini? So I meant to say this earlier on, Philippe. I am not really good with gear, and I've only owned these two guitars with the exception of the electrics that I got in the past year or two. I kind of suck at guitar stuff. Like, I don't know what all these things stand for, all the different sizes, the names. I am not the person to ask about that, right? I'll put some lessons or some videos on my lesson page for this on my website where some folks who know a lot more will like compare travel guitars and kind of give their recommendation. I think that's how I picked out this one, was watching Dave Tran, Guitar Zero to Hero, look at 5 different travel guitars priced between I think $500 and $1,000. And that's kind of what I used to get this. So I can't recommend it from is this brand better than that brand? I don't know, right? Should you exchange your 114 for a Mini? I don't know what a 114 is, and I don't know your situation, but I can say this. I think this is absolutely sufficient for your only acoustic guitar for a lot of people, right? Now, let's compare it to this. How is this inferior to that, right? I do think the sound on this, when I'm recording or there's certain songs I'm playing, I notice that the sort of, it's not really the volume, though it is kind of the volume. Like, this doesn't feel quite as big from a sound level, right? And for some songs, you really can kind of start to bump into that. But it's pretty rare, and I'm really much, I make YouTube videos, right? I record stuff. I have a mic usually 18 inches away from where I'm playing. I'm recording in a quiet room. The rest of the time I'm playing, I'm around the house, right? I keep my Taylor 310 in my office here. I keep this one downstairs. It's on a hook in my dining room. I will grab it when I'm just pacing around the kitchen, when I'm on the couch watching TV or sports or whatever, if I go on the back porch, if I'm just watching YouTube and the TV in my room. Like, I kind of love how quick it is to pick this up and put it down. That's one of the big perks of the smaller size. It might seem silly and like a non-starter, but honestly, picking this up and putting it down, because it's lighter and smaller, it's just that much easier to do. Getting the strap over your shoulder and off your shoulder, it's way easier than it is on that guitar, right? That one, it's always bigger. I got to make sure I don't bang it into something. I'm a bit more careful, a bit more slow. This one, it's just so really good for the casual kind of like home guitar player. Now, I don't really play out live ever. I don't do like picking circles or anything. I mean, in those circumstances, I can't tell you how this would do. But if you're playing just around your house and you're just noodling around, I think this is fine. And here's the other thing, is that the size of this, because it's so small, and I'm going to get to this in my next question, but the comfort of playing is spectacular. Like it's so much easier when you're learning stuff. The stretches aren't as long. You know, the fretboard is less wide. The distance from the nut down, to each fret, it's a little bit less than it is on that guitar. And that really like adds up in a good way, where when you have to, do that pinky stretch to the 4th or 5th fret or something, it's way more easy to play, right? And I was afraid when I got this that it would be too small and that my hands would be too cramped, right? But maybe for a day or two, it took some adjusting. But since then, again, this feels like my normal guitar. That feels like my big guitar. So, Philippe, I can't comment on your 114, but I think this is absolutely this style of guitar. Now, again, go try them out. Make sure you do your homework and you get one that's well built, because I don't want you getting one that's smaller and not built well and it doesn't sound good, because I'm sure there are, guitars out there that are on that end of the spectrum. I don't want you doing that. But, I paid, again, I think $800 for this. And totally, I think these start at $600. I paid $800. I believe that's what it is. Totally happy with it. And I absolutely think this could be folks' only guitar. And especially for folks starting out on guitar, if you're starting on an acoustic, and if you're a smaller frame person, I'm 6'1". My hands are, I would say they're pretty big. My fingers are kind of like a little bit beefy. Not huge, but I think about if a smaller person using that bigger guitar, that thing would just feel huge. And I think this smaller one, it's going to be easier to pick up. And like Michael Palmisano on GuitarGate says, the number one key is picking up the guitar, right? And that's why I always say pick up your guitar and play, and some of my marketing stuff, because literally picking it up and holding it and just playing around, noodling, is like the prerequisite for everything, right? And I think something that's more comfortable, that feels better, it's just going to be easier to pick up. My daughter is, I don't know, she's like 5'2" or 3. She's in high school. She started electric guitar lessons recently, and she actually she picked this up recently. She'll use this to practice around the main level of the house sometimes, and she comments on how big it is. And I laugh because you think this is big, that guitar over there is huge. So anyway, I think this absolutely could work as your only guitar, to answer your question, Felipe. I hope that was helpful. All right. Now, as far as the situations that I use this, so Rob emailed today asking, "Hi David, you appear to be playing a guitar with quite a short scale in your Graceland video. In what situations do you choose to use it?" I love that question. I wonder whether I might find one more playable. I often use a capo to make playing more comfortable on my grand auditorium cutaway. So keep up the great content. So thank you, Rob, for emailing. To work backwards, when Rob is saying he uses a capo to make things more comfortable, I'm guessing what he means is on any guitar, no matter if it's a travel size guitar or a full size one, the frets are less distance from each other as you go up the fretboard, okay, away from the neck. These frets are relatively, these 3 frets are, this far, where if I go down here, this is over 4 frets, the same distance. So when you use a capo, what it's doing is it makes some of those stretches you might have to do a lot easier. Some songs where you have to do a D over a C sharp, that stretch can be a real pain. Or even a D over F sharp, which you need in Rocky Mountain High. this stretch can be a real pain. On this guitar, it's just a lot more easy to play, right? So one thing I say in that video, I'm sorry, this is a circuit. This is an answer that's going the long way. A tip I give in that earlier video is putting a capo further up the neck can make some of those pinky stretches easier. And that's true on any guitar. But I find with this guitar in general, and this answers your question, Rob, about the situations where I use it, is I will use this a lot when, number one, I'll use it downstairs when I'm just noodling around, right? It's again, I just like playing a lot and working on stuff and everything. Now, as far as me using this in videos, I tend to use this on songs where it's a more complex, usually fingerstyle stuff, where it's more complex and where there's stretches. If it's any combination of those things, this guitar in general I find more forgiving because the distance, the reaching is less, right? The distance of moving my fingers are less. It's just easier to get up to speed with some of those trickier songs. And with Graceland, there's some really fast picking I was doing. And I practiced it on both guitars, but I just found every time I transferred to that guitar, I just really struggled with that faster picking pattern, right? So that's an example of a lesson where I would favor this guitar because it's just easier to play. It's sort of easier to learn on also. So I'll use it when I'm learning difficult stuff, Rob, to answer one question. Also, lessons that, or playing songs that are just technically more difficult, I'll just kind of keep going on this one and record it on this one, right? Whereas that one, I think, sounds a little bit bigger and better. But if I can't put in the proper practice to get up to speed on that guitar, I won't bother, right? So I think for folks who can have multiple guitars, if your budget and circumstances allow it, I think there is a big benefit of having a smaller guitar just for being that sort of, I don't want to say training wheels in like a pejorative sort of way, but I think that sort of literally it's easier to play. I mean, it's like riding a bike that has auto balance or it has like a motor assist or something where it's just kind of easier to get through the motions. And that's what a guitar is all about a lot of the time, in my opinion, is being able to get through the riff, get through the song and have fun with it, right? So that you can go to it again and get better and turn up the tempo and, just improve. And if you can sort of have a guitar like this to improve on, it's going to make it easier when you eventually jump over to that one. Yeah, like you do have to adjust your muscle memory by a little bit, like the stretches are a little bit longer and all that stuff on that guitar. But in some circumstances, I just prefer this one. So when I'm practicing, just by nature of it being downstairs, I like this one. Just for grabbing and going around the house, I like this one. For more technical things, for bigger stretches, for just developing the muscle memory, those are all the places where I really like this guitar, to be totally honest. So I think that answers all the questions I had now. A couple other notes here. The things I don't like about this guitar, I will say that the batteries in this thing die quite a bit. I don't know if so you basically turn it on, it'll show you, right? The tuner will show you the name of the note and you can tune and it shows you if you're sharp or flat. If I don't turn that off, this thing I don't know if there's an auto off. I don't think there is. It'll die. So it uses, it uses those 2032 kind of coin batteries. It uses 2 of them. So, but I mean, I just bought a bunch of them from the store. They're in my battery kit in the laundry room. And it works pretty well right there. Hey there, friends. I want to be more articulate about the downsides of the Taylor GS Mini. Okay, one of them is the depth or the bigness of the sound. I don't know if I said this earlier in the video, but it definitely does not feel as substantial compared to my Taylor 310. When I'm just noodling quietly in the living room or on the couch, it doesn't bother me at all. But when I am kind of trying to play at full volume or I'm recording something, there are times when I notice it's like, I mean, it gets loud enough, but it's just like I don't know how to articulate the sound quality I'm trying to describe. It just doesn't sound like there's as much there. But this is relatively minor, and very small. Again, if you were to play live with people in jams or picking circles, that kind of thing, maybe that would be an issue. But, I will say that the sound is just generally not as big and not as rich. There's something that's a little bit lacking there. But check out YouTube. Like, go to Taylor's Guitars website. They have this one guy does a lot of playthroughs of all the different body styles. again, all that stuff is way over my head, but I wanted to call that out as far as one of the downsides of the guitar. So in general, I'm a big fan. I definitely recommend. I hope this wasn't too long here. Now, if you're interested in some of the close-ups, let me do a zoom in over there. I'll show you the two guitars side by side with some sort of measurements and stuff. And then a little bit later, I'll do some playing where I play stuff and you can hear the difference of how things sound. All right, let's go. All right, here is the well-lit look at both of these guitars. Now, I'll show you measurements in separate images I put on the screen, but in general, the GS Mini, I would say, is about 10 or 15% smaller in every regard than the larger one, okay? So to give you an idea of what this looks up close, in my experience, the build quality is very, very good. Kind of just has the same fret markers that regular Taylors have as far as what I'm used to, right? Here's what the side looks like. It has this nice thing right here, you know, a standard kind of strap thing, just like that one. Okay, this is my bigger guitar. Now this one, I've had this again since 2001. It's been played a lot more. It's been dropped a few times, knocked over a bunch of times, bumped into the wall. You know, the usual thing. You can see the frets kind of there getting a little bit indented, right? But hey, it's a guitar. Guitars are for playing, and it's done me really good. I've had it brought to Tex a few times just to keep it in good standard, good health. Now, I did measure, and again, I'll put these images up. I did measure the sort of length of those first 4 frets, and you know, that compared to this, get them on the same screen here. It's hard to do the direct comparison, but with the ruler doesn't lie. And again, it's always, this one's not a ton smaller, but it's a less wide fretboard. The frets are a little tightly more packed, right? And then also the width here is a little bit more narrow than that width. It's not a huge amount, but it is enough where you will notice it. So that's pretty much the close-up look there. Again, if you all have questions that I did not answer, please let me know. I'd be happy to make updates or whatever. But yeah, I hope you all found this helpful. Let's get to some of those playthroughs now. All right, friends, thanks for watching. I hope you found that helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. And any other gear questions you have, if you'd like me to answer, send those in as well. Always happy to hear them. But until the next one, I'll see you, and all the best. Bye-bye.